Welcome to Transitions. I'm your host, Antoinette Zloty. I have a very interesting lady with me today. Her name is Brianna Fuellbrandt. As well, Sargeant Shawn Lowry will be showing us some information with regard to the Winnipeg Police Canine Unit. So first, I would like you to meet Brianna.
Hi.
And Brianna, I'm so happy that you were able to join us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So, tell me a little bit about your own personal journey and story and of transition.
How much time do we have?
Well, I think that for now, what we'll do is try to get as much as possible of the highlights of your journey.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. My journey just with blindness or my journey with the guide dogs?
Well, let's, with regard to your loss of vision, how old were you when that got started?
I noticed it when I was 12. I started losing vision. I started getting spots in front of my eyes. But I didn't actually lose total vision until about 6 years ago. And so I've been totally blind for 6 years now.
For 6 years?
Yes.
Now I see that you're working with the Vision Loss Rehabilitation Program with CNIB.
Yes.
And that brings you in contact with quite a few people who have very similar stories, eh?
Varying and similar at the same time.
Yeah.
Everybody is so unique, and that's one thing that keeps the job interesting, is that everybody's got their own story.
Now, how old were you when you actually got a guide dog? Like, or how long ago was that?
I got my first guide dog in 2007.
2007.
Yes.
So now, do you have the same dog that you had back then?
No. She retired in 2015. I received another guide dog last year, but unfortunately she didn't work out. She actually quit after 3 months. And so I actually just received my newest guide dog this past March.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Is your guide dog part of your training that you provide through CNIB?
No.
No? Oh,
No.
I see. So take us through, let's say, what a typical day would be like.
Well, I get up in the morning, and of course, the dog really has to go by then. So I have to take out the dog first things first. But at home, she's just loose. You know, she doesn't help me, guiding around the house or anything. But our day starts at 5 a.m. I have to feed her, take her out, make sure she's well groomed, because if she's not well groomed, then there is a loophole in our legislation that actually says if they're mangy or what's the word I'm looking for?
Unkempt, maybe?
Unkempt, or if they're not acting well, so if they're not well behaved, then a public place could refuse them. So I have to make sure that she's well groomed, and also it's a way to, if I'm petting her or grooming her, I can tell if there's anything new, like any new lumps and bumps that might appear, because they are typical for dogs. It does happen. Then we walk to the bus stop and go to work. And she lays under my desk when I'm in the office, or she goes with me to various clients' homes where I teach independent living skills.
That is wonderful. That's really good. And there's some similarities with your routine and the routine that I do. I've been looking after our grand dog, I call him.
Yes.
Atticus, our grand dog. So what did you find was the biggest change that you had to make with getting a guide dog? Has it been a really good change for you?
It's been a very positive change, but at the same time, I find that it's very much like having a toddler, because even when I'm sick, which, for an example, I had really bad flu a couple of weeks ago, I still had to get up and take the dog out. I couldn't just sleep it off, wallow in bed. I still have to take the dog out and feed her and take care of her. And she's very puppy-like right now because she's only 2. And she had lots of energy, but you still have to get up with them and take care of them, even though you're not feeling well. With the cane, they just can sit in the corner and you don't have to worry about, taking care of the cane when you're sick.
Yeah. No, I hear you completely because having a dog in our home, we were doing this for our daughter while she's studying abroad, and it's really changed things because you really can't sleep in unless you attend to the dog and then go for another little nap after. So,
Precisely.
Do you think that the start of the guide dog program, because I went online and I checked and I understand that guide dogs date back to like 1931, which is what, 87 years ago. So it's not really a long time that we've had guide dogs in our society. So Brianna, do you think that it would be a good idea for people to experience what it would be like to have a guide dog in their household, or?
Not necessarily having the guide dog, but maybe experiencing what it's like to have vision loss and needing a guide dog. Because I have to say, the one thing I hear a lot from people is that they wish they could bring their pet everywhere with them. And they don't realize that these dogs are truly doing us a service by guiding us around and helping us get around. It's so totally different having a pet and needing a dog. Do you see what I mean?
I see what you mean.
Yes.
I see what you mean entirely.
So.
And the relationship is different as well, because
absolutely.
you do, I suppose, you need to be very disciplined. I think there are a lot of people who are not as disciplined with their pets, whereas there must be some guidelines that you have to follow.
Oh, absolutely. Like I have to keep my dog within a certain weight range so that she stays healthy, because too much extra weight and it would put a lot of pressure on her joints and her heart, so she wouldn't be able to do the job that she's doing. And it is a requirement that I take her to the vet, about twice a year, and make sure that she gets her heartworm and all those things and her vaccinations. And we try to keep interactions with a lot of people to a minimum, because she has to get all her good stuff from me. Labs are notoriously friendly, and they're going to love whoever feeds them. Yeah. So it really is important that the only person that feeds them is their handler, and maybe one other person who, if people are lucky enough to have someone who can help them out when they are sick.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm very pleased that you were able to come in today and have this conversation with me, and I look forward to further contact with you and finding out how things go with your newest home, I guess, roommate and helper, and the success of the CNIB Guide Dog Program, I think, will hopefully continue to grow.
I hope so too.
Yeah, so thanks, and I will be right back, folks, with another segment with the Winnipeg Police Canine Unit. Welcome to Transitions. I'm Antoinette Zloty, and I'm here today with Sargeant Shawn Lowry. We are going to meet Kyra again later, but right now we're going to just chat about the Winnipeg Police Service Canine Unit and the great work that they're doing. So tell me a little bit about the transitions that, first of all, your canine partners go through.
Well, we have a great breeding program here at the service. We breed a breed called the Belgian Malinois. We've been very fortunate to have this breed. We've had it around 15, almost 20 years now. And from the traits that we're looking for in the parents, we'll breed them specifically for them. So we're looking for the hunt drive or the tracking drive in the dog and the trainability in the dog as well. So by having them as pups, we're able to see the traits that they have, and if there's anything that needs to be worked on, we're able to work on them prior to them entering training. So we had a litter in April, so the dogs that we do have now, they're about 4.5 months old, and we'll be watching them and their characteristics from now until next year. So when they start training, they'll just be over a year old, which is ideal for us. We're looking for anywhere from 12 to 16, 18 months old. So they're allowed to be a dog first. That's first and foremost. You're allowed to be a dog, go explore, have fun. Life is great. We'll socialize them in as many different environments as we can. And then once we bring them into training, we'll start transitioning them into what we want them to do. So their natural hunt drive, they'll want to hunt and look for prey. That's what they did in the wild. So what we'll do is we'll try and tweak that in terms of looking for a certain thing. In our case, tracking is our bread and butter. So we'll teach them that by tracking a known track through the grass, they'll find something at the end, which in this case is their reward. A lot of them prefer a ball or a tug toy. And we'll use that tug toy now, or that ball, for them to explore and kind of do what we want them to do, and they'll get their reward for it. So from pups to about a year, they just get to be a pup, we get to be a dog, and then we'll start transitioning them into possibly being a police dog. We'll see how well they take to the tracking, and once they do take that tracking profile, we'll then expand on it, and we'll go a little bit further. So instead of it being 10 feet or 10 yards, we'll try and get it up to about 1.5 miles to 2 miles. So that's kind of what we're looking for in terms of our breeding program.
Well, I'm interested too in the difference between tracking and searching. Could you just comment on that?
Yeah, so if you think about a campfire in the woods, if you build a campfire, you're going to have smoke coming up in the air, and it's going to leave with the wind and expand into a cone. So the dog will be walking around, all of a sudden they'll enter that scent cone and they'll work it back to the source, being the individual that's emitting that scent. In terms of tracking, if we have a crime scene, somebody leaving the crime scene, they're actually disturbing the ground right in front of them. They're crushing the blades of grass, they're disturbing the soil, they're leaving a trail of disturbed vegetation that somebody can follow. So in our case, we want them to, our dogs to track from the crime scene to their location, and that track there is now admissible in court as tracking evidence. So we can actually pinpoint them specifically back to the crime scene instead of having an individual in an area that we just happen to find. Well, when you have to use other investigative resources to put them back at the crime scene.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I think that the work is so different from anything that I've ever done. So would you comment then about retirement? Like, because you're looking at how many years of actual work on the part of the dogs?
So we're aiming for about 7 working years.
7 years.
That's been
okay.
typical of most agencies and most breeds. We're finding with the Belgian Malinois, we're getting a year or 2 longer. There's just less health effects to the dog. So they're retiring around 9 years of age to 10 years of age. They work with a steady partner from the time that they are validated until the time that they retire. That individual has created a bond with that dog. They've worked that dog for so long that when the dog does retire, the handler is typically taking that dog into retirement and allowing it to enjoy its retirement back at home.
I think it's really interesting how you have some mugs too, pewter mugs here at your station, and with the names of the handler and the names of the dogs. And
it was a nice symbolic gesture just to kind of have
Yeah.
something that we can remember our dogs by. At the same time, as a former handler that used to work here, they're able to come back here and sit around and we can have a chit chat about old times, and they're able to have their mug still here for all these years and until they come back here to rejoin us.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I see dogs at the airport. Now, you're not providing the dogs and handlers at the airport at this point, right?
Right, we're not the contract for the airport,
Okay.
but we may have a contract for another agency or another service that may require our services. So if they do that, then we'll take our dogs out, and things like concerts or large gatherings, anywhere that they may have a need for a canine or a search canine, we'll have the dog out there for those kind of purposes.
So the unit here is comprised of how many dogs, how many officers?
So my complement is 12 officers, 13 dogs right now. We have 4 puppies on the ground as well, so we're up to 17 dogs. So it's quite busy here on training days. We have training twice a month here where the unit collectively comes and trains as a unit. So it can be quite busy here on those days.
Busy.
Yeah.
So can we actually bring Kyra out right now?
Would you like to see her?
Oh yeah, I'd love to see her.
Yeah, we can bring her out right away. Yeah, hold
okay,
on.
thank you. And here we have Kyra. Could you tell me a little bit about the care of her?
Yes, so Kyra's 4.5 months old now. She was weaned at 8 weeks, and she was given to one of our Corey helpers in the unit. He's responsible for the care and maintenance of the police dog during her time with us. So he'd be responsible for feeding and grooming. Here at the kennels, we have a wash basin with high quality shampoos and cleaners. We also have a blow dryer, different brushes, and nail clippers for the dogs. Anything beyond that, where we're looking into veterinary care, we have our primary care veterinarians that'll take care of the dog in terms of the medical care. But in the meantime, the dog's allowed to be a dog, and the Corey kind of helps it be the best dog that it can be.
She certainly has a lot of energy. Is that energy just part of her age, or
No, that's part of the breed, and that's also part of the specifics that we're looking for in terms of the genetics. We're looking for a lot of energy in these dogs. As they grow up and become police dogs, they'll be focusing that energy on the tasks that we have them do. So if we're tracking or searching, they'll be using that energy to look for that kind of stuff.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see. And what about the progression in terms of the officers from their early start in with police service and through to, their retirement?
So we have a Corey or helper program that we have here at the service. We're very fortunate. We have about 54 active Corys. The minimum qualifications for a Corey is 1 year of police work before you can become a Corey. So they'll take the Corey course and they'll come out on those regular training days and they'll assist in the training of the canine. We'll get them to lay tracks, maybe go hide in a residence or in the bush. If we're doing aggression training, we'll have them wear the aggression equipment as well. As a helper then, we'll identify individuals that we may want to raise a pup. We'll then offer them a puppy to raise on behalf of the unit. And we'll watch how they progress with the dog as well as watching the dog itself. And then ultimately, when we do have a handler position open, there'll be a competition now for that position. Just because you have a pup, though, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the canine position. And if you do get the canine position, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get your puppy. We're going to be looking for the best canines that we can get. So if we have another canine that may be a little better than the one that you were raising, you may in fact get trained with that dog. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen from time to time.
So what other breeds have you had or are considering?
So we breed the Belgian Malinois. It's a very noteworthy breed. It's been in existence for a long time, but in terms of police work, it's been around for about 20 years. We also have the German Shepherd, which has been typical for the last century of police and military work. Both breeds are very good at what they do. We've been finding a benefit with the Malinois. We'll also keep our eyes peeled from time to time for different breeds. We have a Black Lab right now who's an explosive detector dog, and great story from him, he came to the Humane Society as rescue. So we were very fortunate to acquire him through the Humane Society. Just from time to time we'll have those opportunities to see dogs that may fill a void or a need that we have in the service.
Yeah, that's really, really nice.
Yeah.
I think that my own experience with dogs has certainly been increased with helping out with my little grand dog. So, but a lot of us can feel kind of a little anxious around bigger dogs. Do you have any tips for us before we go?
No, dogs are dogs. So at all times when you see a strange dog, the first thing you're asked the owner is your dog friendly? And then permission from that owner, may I pet your dog? So if you see a police dog in action where it's working, please stay away while we're working. But in terms of socializing, especially with the puppies, approach the handler and say, hi, I notice you have your dog here. Is your dog friendly and may I pet your dog?
Yeah, that's good advice.
If the dog's capable of doing it, then yeah, we would probably allow that.
Yeah, that's very good advice.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank our viewers for joining us on this Special Dogs unit, and I really am very much looking forward to hearing more about how this little girl here does over time. So thank you, and please join us by checking out our website. Oh, you want the microphone? Okay, and oh no, you want to give it to me? Okay, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you as to how you enjoyed the show. Bye for now.